The day my father took his last breath, he whispered something that cracked the world I thought I knew wide open. I was holding his hand in that sterile hospital room, the kind where the air smells like bleach trying too hard to cover up sickness. His fingers were paper thin, veins like blue rivers under translucent skin, and his eyes, those sharp hazel eyes that could silence a room with one look, were glassy but fixed on me. "Eleanor," he rasped, voice barely louder than the beep of the heart monitor. "There's a letter in the safe. Promise me. You'll read it. Alone." Then he squeezed my hand once, hard, like he was passing something heavier than flesh, and the line on the screen went flat. I didn't cry right then. I couldn't. The nurses rushed in. The chaplain murmured prayers, and I just sat there, staring at the indent his grip left on my palm. Dad had always been a man of secrets. Locked drawers, hushed phone calls, envelopes marked private in his spidery handwriting. But a dying wish, a letter, it felt like the final knot in a rope he'd been tying around our family for decades. Let me take you back a little, before the hospital, before the funeral, before everything unraveled. My name is Eleanor Grace Thompson, but everyone's called me Ellie since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. I'm 52 now, a high school history teacher in Willow Creek, Virginia. A small town where the mountains hug the skyline and everybody knows your mama's maiden name. Life was simple, or so I thought. I'd wake up at 5:30 to the smell of coffee brewing in the Mr. Coffee machine my husband Ray bought me for our 20th anniversary. The kitchen tiles were cool under my feet, the ones we laid ourselves the summer the kids were little. Grout still a little uneven in the corner by the fridge. Ray would be at the table already, reading the paper with his glasses perched on the end of his nose, humming off-key to whatever old country song was stuck in his head. "Morning, Teach," he'd say, not looking up, but sliding my favorite mug, faded blue with a chip on the rim, across the table. 2 sugars, splash of milk, just the way I like it. Our daughter Sarah would breeze in around 6, hair in a messy bun, grabbing a granola bar before heading to her nursing shift at the county hospital. "Love you, Mom," she'd call over her shoulder, the screen door slapping shut behind her. Our son Jake lived 2 hours away in Richmond now, but he'd text every Sunday, a selfie with his dog, or a picture of the old oak tree in his backyard that looked just like the one Dad planted when I was 10. Dad lived in the same brick ranch house on Maple Lane where I grew up. After Mom passed 15 years ago, lung cancer, quick and cruel, he rattled around in there like a marble in a tin can. I'd stop by every Tuesday after school with a casserole or a pie, sit at his kitchen table while he graded papers. He'd been the principal at Willow Creek High for 30 years. Retired now, but still sharp as a tack. We'd talk about the kids, the garden, the way the creek was running low this year. He never mentioned money, never brought up the will, even when I teased him about it. "Ellie girl," he'd say, patting my hand with his calloused one. "When I'm gone, you'll be taken care of. That's all you need to know." But there were moments, little flickers, that I brushed off like crumbs from the tablecloth. The way he'd stare out the window sometimes, eyes distant, like he was watching a memory play out on the glass. Or how he kept a locked metal box in his study, the key on a chain around his neck even when he slept. "Old tax stuff," he'd grunt if I asked. And once, maybe 5 years ago, I found a photograph in his desk drawer. Him, younger, arm around a woman I didn't recognize. Dark hair, laughing eyes, a baby on her hip. The back said Clara and Lily, 78. I asked who they were. He snatched it away so fast the paper tore. "Nobody," he said, voice like gravel. "Just old friends." I let it go. Dad was private. Always had been. Mom used to say he carried the weight of the world in his pockets and never let anyone help lighten the load. So I didn't push. I had my own life. Ray's bad knee acting up, Sarah's wedding last year that cost us a second mortgage on the house, Jake's startup that kept him up nights worrying. Dad's secrets were his to keep. Then the cancer came. Pancreatic stage 4. 6 months, maybe less. He refused chemo at first, saying he'd rather have quality than quantity. I moved him into our spare room so I could care for him. Nights were the worst, him coughing in the dark, me slipping in with warm tea and a cold cloth for his forehead. "You're a good girl, Ellie," he'd whisper, eyes shining with fever or tears I couldn't tell. Always were. The morning he died, the hospice nurse called me at school. I left my lesson plan on the whiteboard, Gettysburg Address, 3rd period, and drove to the hospital with the radio off, hands shaking on the wheel. Ray met me in the parking lot, held me while I sobbed into his flannel shirt that smelled like sawdust and coffee. We went in together. Dad was already gone, but his hand was still warm when I took it. The funeral was 3 days later. Gray skies, the smell of wet leaves underfoot as we gathered at Willow Creek Baptist. The sanctuary was packed, former students, teachers, half the town. Dad had that effect. I stood at the podium in my black dress, voice steady as I read the eulogy I'd written at 2 a.m., coffee cold beside me. My father taught me that integrity isn't what you say, it's what you do when no one's watching. Afterward, at the graveside, the wind picked up, whipping the tent flaps like sails. I was accepting condolences, numbly shaking hands when I saw her. A young woman, maybe 30, standing apart under the oak tree. Dark coat, hair the color of chestnuts pulled back in a low ponytail. She wasn't crying, but her eyes, those eyes, were fixed on the casket like it held the answer to every question she'd ever had. I didn't think much of it at first. People come out of the woodwork at funerals. But then she started walking toward me, boots crunching on gravel, a manila envelope clutched in her gloved hands. "Mrs. Thompson?" Her voice was soft, but it cut through the murmur of the crowd like a bell. "Eleanor Thompson?" I nodded, my throat dry. "Yes?" She held out the envelope. "My name is Lily Harper. I think you should read this." The envelope was heavier than it looked, the paper thick and official, the flap sealed with a strip of tape that had started to yellow. I took it from her, fingers brushing hers, cold, trembling. Up close, I saw the resemblance like a slap. The same high cheekbones Dad had, the same stubborn set to the jaw. But her eyes were darker, almost black, and rimmed red like she'd been crying for days. Ray was beside me in an instant, hand on my elbow. "Ellie, is everything okay?" I couldn't answer. The cemetery noise faded. The pastors murmured amen, the shuffle of boots, Aunt Ruth blowing her nose into a lace handkerchief. All I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears. Lily glanced at Ray, then back at me. "It's from your father. He wrote it for both of us. Both of us." The words hung there, impossible. I had one sibling, my brother Tommy, killed in a car wreck when he was 19. Dad never remarried after Mom. Never even dated, as far as I knew. I opened my mouth to say something. Anything. But Lily was already stepping back, hands clasped in front of her like a schoolgirl waiting to be dismissed. "I'll wait by the gate," she said quietly. "When you're ready." She turned and walked away, coat flapping in the wind, and I stood there clutching the envelope like it might bite me. Ray guided me to the folding chairs under the tent. The funeral director was lowering the casket, slow, mechanical, the chains creaking. I should have been watching that. Should have been throwing the first handful of dirt like tradition demanded. Instead, I tore open the envelope with shaking fingers. Inside was a single sheet of Dad's stationery, the pale blue kind he used for thank you notes, and a smaller sealed envelope with my name on it in his handwriting. The letter was dated 3 weeks ago. "My dearest Ellie, if you're reading this, I'm gone," and the coward in me finally ran out of time. There's no easy way to say what I need to say, so I'll say it plain. Lily Harper is your sister. My daughter. Born 1978 out of wedlock to a woman named Clara Bennett. I was 28, stupid, and thought love could fix anything. It couldn't. Clara left town when Lily was 2. I sent money every month, but I never told your mother. I never told you. I thought I was protecting you both. I was wrong. The house, the savings, the land by the creek, it's all split even between you and Lily. The deed's in the safe, combination 142709, your mother's birthday. I've already spoken to Mr. Langford at the bank. Everything's legal. I know this will hurt. I know you'll hate me for a while. But Ellie, family isn't just blood you know about. It's blood you choose to love even when it shows up late. Please give Lily a chance. She's a good woman. She deserves to know her sister. I'm sorry, kiddo. Tell Ray I said he still owes me $20 from that poker game in '98. Love always. Dad, I read it twice. 3 times. The words blurred, then sharpened, then blurred again. Ray was reading over my shoulder, breath warm against my ear. When he got to the part about the inheritance, he let out a low whistle. "Half?" he said, voice careful. "Ellie, that land alone is worth—" "I don't care about the land." My voice cracked like ice on a puddle. He lied. All these years he lied. Sarah appeared then, still in her nurse's scrubs under her coat, eyes wide. "Mom, what's going on?" I couldn't speak. I just handed her the letter. She read it in silence, lips moving slightly like she did when she was little and sounded out hard words. When she finished, she looked up at Lily, still waiting by the iron gate, hands in her pockets, and then back at me. "She looks like Grandpa," Sarah whispered. Jake arrived late. Ty Askew, hair still damp from the shower. He'd driven straight from Richmond. I watched him read the letter, watched his face go from confusion to shock to something harder. He folded the paper with deliberate care and handed it back. "So what happens now?" he asked. I didn't know. My legs felt like water. The cemetery was emptying, cars crunching down the gravel path, taillights blinking red through the mist. I looked at the smaller envelope still in my lap. My name in Dad's handwriting, the ink smudged like he'd written it with a shaky hand. I opened it. "Ellie, there's more in the safe. Photos, birth certificate. Clara's last letter. I kept everything. I was going to tell you after your mother passed, but the longer I waited, the deeper the hole got. Lily found me 6 months ago, tracked me down through one of those ancestry sites. She didn't want money, just answers. I gave her what I could. I know you're angry. You have every right, but don't let my mistakes poison what comes next. You're the strongest person I know. Be better than I was. Love." Dad, I folded both letters, slid them back into the envelope, and stood up. My knees popped. Ray tried to take my arm, but I shook him off. I needed to do this alone. Lily was leaning against the gatepost, staring at the ground. When she heard my footsteps, she straightened. "I'm sorry," she said immediately. "I didn't want to do it like this. I told him to tell you years ago, but he said he was protecting me." My voice sounded far away like someone else's. "That's what he always said." Lily nodded. "He sent me pictures. Of you, your kids. Christmas cards every year. I have a whole box." She swallowed. "I didn't come for the money, Eleanor. I swear, I wanted to meet you. To know where I came from." I looked at her, really looked. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear, same nervous tick I had. The faint scar on her chin, just like the one Dad got falling off his bike when he was 12. She wasn't a stranger. She was a ghost made of flesh. "How old are you?" I asked. 39. "I'll be 40 in March." 40. Dad was 67 when he died. That meant... "Clara," I said. "What happened to her?" Lily's eyes filled. "Breast cancer. 10 years ago. She never told me who my dad was until the end. Said he was a good man who made a mistake. Gave me his name on her deathbed." I closed my eyes. The wind carried the smell of damp earth and chrysanthemums from the grave. Somewhere a crow cawed. "I need to see the safe," I said. Lily nodded. "I have the combination. He gave it to me last month." Of course he did. We drove to Dad's house in 2 cars, Ray and the kids in ours, Lily following in a silver sedan that looked rented. The silence between the vehicles felt like a third passenger. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror, watching her headlights stay a steady distance behind. She drove carefully, both hands at 10 and 2, the way Dad taught me when I was 15 and terrified of the clutch in his old Ford pickup. Maple Lane was quiet. The way it gets after a funeral, curtains drawn, porch lights off, the town holding its breath. Dad's house looked smaller somehow, the red bricks dulled by afternoon shadows. The porch swing creaked in the breeze, empty except for a forgotten coffee mug on the railing. I could almost hear him out there, humming Johnny Cash while he shelled peas. Ray unlocked the door with the spare key. The alarm chirped once, then fell silent. The air inside was stale, thick with the scent of Old Spice and the lemon polish Dad used on the hardwood every Sunday. Nothing had been touched since the ambulance took him. His slippers sat neatly by the recliner, newspaper folded to the crossword, pencil still tucked in the spine. I went straight to the study. The safe was built into the back of the closet behind his winter coats. Combination lock, cold steel. Lily stood in the doorway, arms wrapped around herself like she was holding her ribs together. 27009, she said softly. I knelt, knees cracking on the rug Mom had hooked back in '82. The dial was stiff. Dad's fingers had worn grooves in the numbers. Right to 14, left to 27, right again to 09. The tumblers clicked. The door swung open with a sigh. Inside were neat stacks. Deeds to the house, savings bonds, a velvet pouch with Mom's wedding ring. He'd worn it on a chain after she died. And a shoebox, lid taped shut, labeled "For Ellie and Lily" in his handwriting. I lifted it out. My hands shook so badly the tape tore unevenly. Inside, photographs, a birth certificate, a stack of letters tied with twine. The top photo was Dad, young, maybe 30, hair still dark, holding a toddler with Lily's eyes. On the back, Lily's second birthday, Richmond, 1980. I flipped through them like a deck of cards. Dad pushed a swing. Dad at a picnic table, Clara laughing beside him. Dad is teaching a little girl to ride a bike, training wheels glinting in the sun. My chest ached like someone had parked a truck on it. Ray crouched beside me. "Jesus, Ellie." Sarah and Jake hovered in the doorway, faces pale. Sarah's hand found Jake's shoulder. He didn't shrug it off like he usually did when she mother-henned him. Lily knelt too, careful not to crowd me. "He wrote to me every month," she said, "even after Clara died. I sent birthday cards, report cards, and money when I started college. Always signed them, 'Your friend Daniel.' I thought he was just some family friend until Mom told me." I pulled out Clara's last letter, thin airmail paper, dated 2013. "Daniel, the doctors say weeks, maybe days. I'm not afraid anymore. I kept your secret like you asked, but Lily deserves the truth. She's strong like her sister. Tell Eleanor I'm sorry. Tell her I loved you both in my way. Tell Lily her father was the best man I ever knew, even if he couldn't be there every day. Burn this if you want." "I'll understand." Clara, I pressed it to my chest like it might crumble. Dad hadn't burned it. He'd kept everything. The birth certificate was next. "Lily Marie Bennett, born March 12, 1978, Richmond General Hospital. Father, Daniel Robert Thompson. Mother, Clara Ann Bennett." The ink was faded but unmistakable. Jake let out a breath. "So it's real." I couldn't speak. I was drowning in paper and lies and the smell of Dad's closet, mothballs and cedar and the ghost of his aftershave. Lily reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small photo album, edges worn soft. "He sent me this last year. Said if anything happened, I should bring it to you." The first page, me at 6, gap-toothed, holding a catfish almost as big as I was. Dad's handwriting underneath. Ellie's first fishing trip. She outfished me 3-1. Next page, Sarah's high school graduation. Jake's first Little League home run. Our family Christmas card from 2019. And woven between them, pictures of Lily, her college graduation, her wedding, a simple courthouse ceremony, Dad not in the frame, the birth of her son, a red-faced newborn with Dad's nose. I touched the plastic covering the baby picture. "You have a child?" "Ethan, he's 8. Lives with his dad in Charlottesville. We share custody," her voice cracked. "Dad met him once. Last summer. Said he looked just like Tommy at that age. Tommy? My brother. The one who died before Lily was even born." The ache sharpened. Ray stood. "I'm making coffee. Everybody sit down before we fall down." We migrated to the kitchen like sleepwalkers. The table was the same one where I did homework, where Mom rolled out biscuit dough, where Dad carved the Thanksgiving turkey with theatrical flair. I sat in his chair by habit. Lily took Mom's old spot, hands wrapped around a mug Ray pressed into them. Sarah broke the silence. "So what happens to the money?" I hadn't even thought that far. The land by the creek, 20 acres Dad bought in the 80s, prime riverfront now. The house. The savings. Half to me, half to Lily. It wasn't about the dollars. It was about the years he'd given her that he'd stolen from me. "I don't want it," Lily said quickly. "Any of it." I told him that. He insisted. "Well, he doesn't get to decide anymore," I said. The words came out sharper than I meant. Everyone flinched. Jake leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "Mom, you're allowed to be mad." Mad didn't cover it. I was a volcano with the lid screwed on too tight. Lily set her mug down. "I'll leave." "I never meant to—" "No," the word burst out of me. "You don't get to leave. He left you too in his way. We're both stuck with this." She looked at me then, really looked, and I saw the exhaustion in her eyes. The same hollowed-out look I'd seen in the mirror after Mom died. "I brought something else," she said. She reached into her bag and pulled out a cassette tape. Yes, an actual cassette, the kind we used to record mixtapes on. "He recorded this for you 2 weeks ago. Said his hands shook too much to write anymore." Ray found Dad's old boombox in the hall closet, the one he used for yard work. Dust puffed off it when he blew on the cassette deck. We all held our breath as he pressed play. Static. Then Dad's voice, weaker than I'd ever heard it, but unmistakable. Ellie girl. If you're hearing this, I'm probably yelling at St. Peter about the thermostat in heaven. A cough, wet and painful. I don't have much time. I need you to listen closely. I was a coward. Plain and simple. Clara was... She was a mistake I never regretted because she gave me Lily. But I regretted every day I didn't tell you. Your mother knew. God forgive me, she knew. Found the checks I was sending, put 2 and 2 together. We fought, Lord, we fought. But she said if I ever brought that child into our home, she'd take you and Tommy and leave. I believed her. I was wrong. I thought money could fix it. Sent what I could, stayed away, built this wall of secrets thinking it would keep you safe. It didn't. It just kept me lonely. Lily's a better person than I ever was. She forgave me. I hope someday you can too. There's one more thing in the safe. Bottom drawer. Give it to her. I love you, kiddo. Tell Ray the coffee's on me in the next life. The tape clicked off. The kitchen was so quiet I could hear the refrigerator hum. I don't remember standing up, but suddenly I was back in the study. The shoebox lit askew, the safe door still yawning open. My knees hit the rug again. Bottom drawer. There was no drawer. Just a false panel at the back. The kind Dad used to hide Christmas presents when we were kids. I pressed the corners until it popped loose. Inside lay a small cedar box, the wood polished smooth from years of handling. No lock. I lifted the lid and the scent hit me first. Cedar and the faint rosewater Mom used to dab behind her ears. Nestled on faded satin was a gold locket, heart-shaped, the chain delicate as spider silk. I knew it instantly. Mom wore it every day until the clasp broke in 2001. She'd cried when Dad said he'd get it fixed, but it never came back from the jeweler. I opened it with trembling fingers. On the left, a tiny photo of me at 8, freckles and pigtails. On the right, a baby picture I'd never seen. Dark curls, dimpled chin. Lily. Beneath the photos, a folded note in Mom's looping cursive. Daniel, if you're reading this, I'm gone and you're still too stubborn to tell the truth. I kept the locket after I found the picture. I thought I'd throw it in the creek, but I couldn't. She's yours too. Love her like you love Ellie, or don't love at all. Forgive me for the ultimatum. I was scared. Grace. I sat back on my heels, the locket heavy in my palm. Mom knew. All those years of Sunday dinners, hospital visits, bedtime stories, she'd carried this secret like a stone in her shoe and never let it slow her down. Lily appeared in the doorway, eyes wide. Is that... I held it out. She took it like it might disintegrate, thumb tracing the engraving on the back. G&D 1972. Our parents' initials, from before I was born. He was going to give it to me, she whispered. Said it belonged to both his girls. Sarah's voice floated in from the hall. Mom, Aunt Ruth just called. People are asking about the reception. What do we do? The reception. I'd forgotten. The church ladies had set up ham biscuits and 7-layer salad in the fellowship hall. Life insisted on marching forward while mine stood still. Tell them we'll be there in 20, I said. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. Steady, decisive. Lily, you're coming, she started to protest, but I cut her off. Your family. They'll deal. We caravanned to the church in a daze. The fellowship hall smelled of canned green beans and floral perfume. Folding tables draped in white paper, paper plates already sagging under deviled eggs. Aunt Ruth, Mom's sister, all helmet hair and talcum powder, zeroed in the second we walked through the door. Ellie, honey, you're late. And who's this? Her eyes flicked over Lily like she was appraising produce. This is Lily Harper, I said, loud enough for the room to hear. Conversation stuttered. Dad's daughter. My sister. You could have heard a pin drop on the carpet. Then Mrs. Jenkins from the choir gasped so hard her dentures clicked. Aunt Ruth's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Well, she finally managed, I suppose we'll need another chair. Lily's face went scarlet, but she lifted her chin. I don't want to intrude. Nonsense. I took her coat, hung it on the rack by the door. You're not intruding. You're late to the party, that's all. We moved through the room like a slow-moving storm. People stared, whispered behind paper cups of sweet tea. Old Mr. Langford from the bank pumped Lily's hand like he'd known her forever. Spitting image of your daddy at that age, he boomed. Same stubborn cowlick. Sarah and Jake flanked us like bodyguards. Jake even fetched Lily a plate. Ham biscuit, coleslaw, a square of red velvet cake with too much icing. She ate standing up, small bites, eyes darting like she expected someone to yank the food away. I found myself watching her the way you watch a deer that's wandered into your yard. Half afraid she'd bolt, half afraid she'd stay. Every gesture was familiar. The way she tucked her hair behind her left ear only, the nervous laugh that started in her nose. Dad's laugh. Halfway through, Ray pulled me aside by the kitchen pass-through. You okay? His thumb brushed a tear I hadn't realized was there. No, I said honestly. But I will be. He nodded, pressed a kiss to my temple. I put the cedar box in the truck. Figured you'd want it safe. The afternoon blurred. Hugs, condolences, promises to call. By the time the last casserole dish was collected, the sun was low and orange through the stained glass windows. Lily helped stack chairs without being asked. Her sleeves were rolled up, revealing a faint scar on her forearm. Bike accident, she said later. Same place I had one from age 10. In the parking lot, Aunt Ruth cornered me by the minivan. Your daddy was a good man, she said, voice low. But good men make mistakes. Don't let this one define him. I wanted to scream that it already had. Instead, I hugged her. She smelled like white shoulders and judgment. Lily lingered by her car. I should go. Hotel in Charlottesville. Ethan's with his dad till Sunday. Stay, I heard myself say. The guest room's made up. Dad would... My throat closed. We have a lot to talk about. She searched my face. You sure? I wasn't, but I nodded anyway. Back home, the house felt different with her in it. She stood in the foyer like she was afraid to touch anything, eyes taking in the family photos lining the wall, me and Tommy in matching Easter suits, Sarah's first dance recital, Jake's graduation. Her fingers hovered over a frame from 1985. Dad holding me on his shoulders at the county fair. Both of us eating cotton candy, blue sugar smeared on our chins. I have the same picture, she said softly. Except I'm the one on his shoulders. He sent it. Ray disappeared to make up the guest room. The kids vanished too. Sarah to call her husband, Jake to walk the dog that wasn't there. Lily and I ended up in the kitchen, the heart of every crisis in our family. I poured us both a finger of Dad's bourbon, the good stuff he saved for special occasions. To secrets, I said, clinking her glass. To sisters, she countered. We drank. The burn felt honest. She set her glass down. I have questions? Me too. But not tonight. I was bone tired, the kind that seeps into your marrow. Tomorrow. Over coffee. And pancakes. Ray makes them from scratch. She smiled. Small, tentative, real. I'd like that. Later, after she'd gone upstairs, I sat at the kitchen table with the cedar box. Inside, beneath the locket, was one more thing. A key. Old brass, the kind that opens trunks or diaries. No note. Just the key and a tiny scrap of paper with a phone number in Dad's handwriting. I stared at it until the numbers blurred. Tomorrow. There'll be time tomorrow. I didn't sleep. The guest room was right above the kitchen, and every creak of the old house sounded like Lily pacing. Or maybe it was me, restless in my own bed, Ray's snores a steady rhythm beside me while my mind spun like a hamster wheel. At 3:17 a.m., I gave up, slipped downstairs in my robe, and sat at the table with the cedar box and that brass key. The kitchen clock ticked loud enough to wake the dead. I poured another finger of bourbon, then dumped it out. Too much heartburn, too many regrets. By 5:45, the sky was the color of dishwater. I started coffee, the gurgle of the machine the only sound. Ray patted in at 6, hair sticking up like a dandelion, took one look at my face and kissed the top of my head without a word. He cracked eggs into a bowl, melted butter in the cast-iron skillet Dad gave us for our wedding. The smell of vanilla and browning batter filled the room like a hug. Lily appeared at 6:30, hair damp from the shower, wearing one of Sarah's old college t-shirts and sweatpants that were too short. She looked younger, vulnerable, the armor of yesterday folded away with her funeral clothes. Hope this is okay, she said, tugging at the hem. You're fine. I slid a mug across the island. Cream's in the fridge. Sugar's in the cow. Ray flipped a pancake onto a plate, added a pat of butter that melted into golden pools. Sit. Eat. We'll talk when there's food in you. We ate in near silence, forks scraping, the occasional slurp of coffee. Outside, the first bird of morning tested its voice. When the plates were clean, Ray cleared his throat. I've got to run to the hardware store. He lied smoothly. I need a new hinge for the gate. You two take your time. He kissed me again, squeezed Lily's shoulder on his way out. The screen door slapped shut behind him. Lily traced the rim of her mug. "That key," she said finally. "Dad told me about it. Said there's a trunk in the attic. He wanted us to open it together." I nodded. My mouth tasted like metal. After coffee. We climbed the pull-down stairs slowly, dust motes dancing in the shaft of light from the single bulb. The attic smelled of cedar shingles and forgotten Christmas ornaments. In the far corner, under a tarp yellowed with age, sat a steamer trunk, green paint chipped, leather straps brittle. The lock was small, tarnished, but the key slid in like it had been waiting 40 years. Inside, layers of tissue paper, a faint scent of lavender sachets. On top, a baby blanket, pale yellow, hand-crocheted, the yarn so soft it felt like kitten fur. Beneath it, stacks of envelopes addressed in Clara's handwriting, postmarks from Richmond, then Roanoke, then Charlottesville. Dozens of them. Dad's replies were there too, in his neat principal script. Lily lifted the blanket, pressed it to her face. "She made this for me. I thought I lost it in a move." I pulled out the first letter, 1978. "Daniel, she's walking." Took 3 steps toward the couch and fell flat on her diaper. Laughed so hard she hiccuped. "You should see her. She has your ears. I'm sorry I left." I was scared. "You have a family. I won't ruin it." Clara another 1983. Lily started preschool. Wore her red rain boots every day, even when it was sunny. Asked me why her daddy lives in the pictures. I told her he's a soldier far away. I hate lying. I read until my eyes burned. Lily sat cross-legged on the plywood floor, reading her own stack. Every so often she'd gasp or laugh or wipe her eyes with the sleeve of Sarah's t-shirt. Hours passed. Sunlight crept across the rafters. At the bottom of the trunk, a photo album thicker than a phone book. The first page made me sit down hard. Mom and Dad on their wedding day, 1974, both of them glowing. But taped beside it, smaller, Dad and Clara at the county fair, 1977. Clara's hand on a tiny baby bump. Dad's arm around her waist, grin wide as the sky. Lily's voice was hoarse. He kept both lives here, side by side. There was more. Report cards, finger paintings, a lock of dark baby hair in a plastic bag labeled Lily First Haircut, a pressed violet from Mom's funeral. A Valentine I'd made Dad in 2nd grade, hearts and glitter glue, world's best daddy. I closed the album. My chest felt hollowed out, scooped clean. Downstairs, the front door opened and closed. Sarah's voice called up, "Mom? Are you alive up there?" We emerged like moles blinking into daylight. Sarah took one look at our faces and herded us to the couch with blankets and more coffee. Jake showed up with donuts, chocolate for Lily, plain for me, the kind Dad used to bring home on Saturdays. We spread the trunk's contents across the coffee table like evidence. Sarah traced the crochet blanket with reverent fingers. Jake found a letter Dad wrote to Clara in 1995, apologizing for missing Lily's high school graduation, promising to make it up someday. Lily held up a small envelope. "This one's for you, Ellie. Sealed. Never opened. My name and Dad's handwriting dated last month. Ellie, if you're reading this with Lily, I did something right. I was going to mail it, but I wanted you to have it in person. I'm tired, kiddo. Tired of carrying this alone. Your mother was the love of my life. Clara was the mistake that taught me how big love could be. I never stopped loving either of them. I just didn't know how to love them both out loud. Forgive me. Or don't. But don't let my silence become yours. There's $10,000 in a CD at the bank, which matures next year, for Ethan's college. Tell Lily it's from his grandpa. I'm proud of the woman you became despite me." Dad, I handed it to Lily without a word. She read it, tears sliding down her cheeks, and when she got to the part about Ethan, she let out a sound halfway between laugh and sob. Sarah's phone buzzed. Work. Jake had a meeting in Richmond. They left us with promises to return for dinner, the door closing soft behind them. Lily and I sat in the quiet. Outside, leaves skittered across the porch. "I have to call my son," she said. "Tell him about his grandpa." "Use the landline," I said. "Better reception." While she talked, voice bright then cracking, I folded the blanket, stacked the letters. When she hung up, she was smiling through tears. "He wants to meet you." "Says you sound nice," I laughed, surprising myself. I am nice, mostly. We spent the afternoon sorting. Some things went into a keep box, some into a pile. The photo album stayed out. I found a frame in the closet. Plain wood, nothing fancy, and put the picture of Dad with both of us as babies side by side. It fit on the mantle between Sarah's wedding photo and Jake's law school diploma. Ray came home with pizza and a six-pack. We ate on paper plates, grease-spotting the boxes, talking about everything and nothing. Lily told stories about Clara, how she taught piano, grew prize roses, burned every casserole she ever made. I told her about Mom's meatloaf, Dad's terrible jokes, the way he cried at Sarah's wedding but pretended it was allergies. Night felt soft. Lily went up to call Ethan again. Ray and I stood at the sink, washing the few dishes. "You're doing good," he murmured, hip-checking me. "Feels like I'm faking it." "You're not. You're choosing." Later, I found Lily on the porch swing, wrapped in Dad's old army jacket. The air smelled of wood smoke from someone's chimney. "I used to imagine this porch," she said. In the letters, he described it. The way the floorboards creak in the same spot, the wind chimes that sound like rain. I sat beside her. The swing groaned. "I'm keeping the house," I said. "But the land by the creek, half is yours. We'll figure it out. Maybe build something, a cabin. For Ethan." She leaned her head on my shoulder, tentative. I let her. The next morning, Willow Creek woke up to the news the way it wakes up to everything. Fast, loud, and with casseroles. Aunt Ruth must have speed-dialed the prayer chain before her first cup of coffee. Because by 8 o'clock, the doorbell was chiming like a fire alarm. Mrs. Jenkins arrived with a ham the size of a toddler and a gleam in her eye that said she'd been waiting 40 years for this much. Drama. Mr. Langford from the bank followed with a folder thick as a phone book. Dad's final paperwork, already notarized, Lily's name in black and white beside mine. Ray took the ham, I took the folder, and Lily took the porch, hands wrapped around a mug, staring at the street like she might still bolt. I watched her from the window, shoulders hunched under Dad's old jacket, and felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness yet, but the possibility of it. By 10, the living room looked like a wake without a body. Neighbors rotated through in shifts, bearing Tupperware and curiosity. Someone asked Lily if she was the love child. Someone else asked me if I was keeping the silver. I smiled so hard my cheeks cramped. Sarah showed up in scrubs, still smelling faintly of hospital antiseptic. She took one look at the chaos, rolled up her sleeves, and started herding people like sheep. Food goes in the kitchen. Questions go through me. Thank you kindly. Jake arrived with his laptop and a calm that came from too many depositions. He sat up at the dining table, spreadsheets open, turning Dad's estate into columns and commas. Lily slipped back inside during the third wave. Her face was pale, eyes glassy. "I can't breathe in here," she whispered. I took her elbow. "Back porch, now." We escaped through the side door, past the azaleas Mom babied every spring. The air was crisp, carrying wood smoke and the distant rumble of a tractor. We sat on the steps, knees almost touching. "They mean well," I said. "I know." She picked at a splinter on the railing. "But every stare feels like a verdict." I understood. I'd grown up under those stares, principal's daughter, honor roll, church soloist. Lily had grown up with none of it, and now the town wanted to retroactively adopt her with a side of judgment. Jake poked his head out. "Langford needs signatures." "Whenever you're ready," Lily straightened. "Let's get it over with." The dining room had gone quiet. The Gawkers temporarily sat. Mr. Langford spread documents like a poker hand. House to me, land split 50-50, savings bonds divided, the CD for Ethan untouched. Lily's pen hovered over the line. "Half the land is riverfront," Langford said, not unkindly. "Worth north of $300,000 now. Developers have been sniffing around for years." Lily signed without hesitation. "It's not about the money. I signed too." The pen scratched loud in the hush. When it was done, Langford gathered the papers, tipped an imaginary hat, and left us with a manila envelope thick as a sandwich. Jake closed his laptop. "I'll file the probate addendum Monday. Should be clean." Sarah appeared with 2 glasses of sweet tea, condensation beating on the sides. "Drink!" "Then we're kicking everyone out." We did. By noon, the house was ours again, the silence ringing after so much noise. Ray started a pot of chili, his go-to comfort food, the kind that simmers all day and makes the whole house smell like forgiveness. Lily stood at the sink, staring at the backyard. "Dad said you used to have a tire swing on that oak." "Still do." Rope's frayed, but it holds. She turned, eyes bright. Ethan would love it. The idea landed soft but solid. Ethan. A nephew I'd never met. 8 years old, probably missing a front tooth, maybe scared of thunderstorms like Sarah was. I pictured him pumping his legs on that swing, Dad's ghost grinning from the porch. We'll fix the rope, I said. Afternoon slid into evening. The chili bubbled, cornbread baked golden. Sarah set the table with the good dishes, the ones with the tiny crack in the platter Mom always hid under the turkey. Jake opened a bottle of red. We called Lily's ex, Mark polite, cautious, and put Ethan on speaker. His voice was piping, excited. Mom said Grandpa had a creek. Can we catch crawdads? Bushels, I promised, surprising myself. After dinner, we migrated to the living room. The photo album lay open on the coffee table, the new framed picture on the mantel catching the lamplight. Lily traced the tire swing photo with one finger. I want to meet the rest of the family, she said. Properly, not like a sideshow. Thanksgiving, Sarah declared. Here, everyone comes or they don't eat. Jake raised an eyebrow. Aunt Ruth's bringing her Jell-O salad? With marshmallows, I said. It's non-negotiable. Lily laughed, full, startled, the sound bouncing off the walls like it belonged there. Later, Ray and the kids cleaned up while Lily and I took mugs of decaf to the porch. The sky was clear, stars sharp as pinpricks. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked once, then thought better of it. I talked to my boss, Lily said. I can work remotely 3 days a week. Thinking of renting a place here. For Ethan, if that's okay. I sipped my coffee. It was too sweet the way Dad made it. The guest room's yours anytime. But there's a duplex for sale 2 streets over. Good schools. Big yard. She was quiet so long I thought she hadn't heard. Then, you'd really be okay with us moving here? I'm okay with a lot of things I wasn't yesterday. She leaned her head against the porch post. I kept waiting for you to hate me. I considered it, I admitted. But I hate a heavy suitcase. I've carried enough. Inside, the dishwasher hummed. Ray's off-key humming drifted through the screen, some old George Strait song. Lily smiled into her mug. Dad used to sing that when he tucked me in on the phone, she said. Said it was our song. I closed my eyes. The night smelled of chili and wood smoke and the faint sweetness of the last blooms on Mom's rosebush. Somewhere in the dark, an owl called. The next weeks were a blur of paperwork and small seismic shifts. Lily found the duplex. Yellow siding, wraparound porch, tire swing already in the oak. She put in an offer the day Ethan came to visit. He was all elbows and missing teeth, eyes the color of river stones. He took one look at the creek and yelled, "Mom, fish!" before we'd even unpacked the car. Thanksgiving came fast. The house swelled with more people than it had seen since Mom's funeral. Aunt Ruth arrived with the Jell-O salad and a grudging smile for Lily. Cousins who'd ignored me for years suddenly wanted selfies with the secret sister. Ethan charmed them all, passing cornbread with sticky fingers and asking Mr. Langford if Miss Eleanor's chili is hotter than Grandpa's. It was. Dad always wimped out on the cayenne. After pie, the men migrated to the TV for football. The women, old guard and new, gathered in the kitchen, washing dishes in a rhythm older than any of us. Aunt Ruth handed Lily a plate without looking. You favored your daddy when he was courting your mama, she said gruffly. Same stubborn mouth. Lily's eyes filled, but she smiled. I'll take that as a compliment. I dried the platter, hiding the crack under the turkey carving set like Mom taught me. The kitchen smelled of sage and cinnamon and something new. Possibility. Later, when the last car pulled away and the house settled into quiet, Lily and I stood on the porch again. Ethan was asleep on the couch, one arm flung over the dog we didn't own yet. You did good, I said. We did good. The tire swing creaked in the breeze. Empty, but waiting. Winter settled over Willow Creek like a quilt pulled up to the chin. The creek iced at the edges, the oak lost its last stubborn leaf, and the duplex on Sycamore Street got a fresh coat of yellow paint that glowed against the gray sky. Lily moved in the week before Christmas, Ethan's laughter echoing off bare walls as he picked his bedroom, blue with a window that looked toward our house. I stood in the driveway with a casserole I didn't know how to hand over without making it weird. She took it anyway. Welcome to the neighborhood, I said. She laughed, and the sound didn't feel borrowed anymore. The first real snow came on a Tuesday. School let out early. I drove home with the wipers slapping wet flakes, the radio playing Silver Bells like it had every right. Ray was in the garage tinkering with the snowblower that hadn't worked since 2012. Ethan burst through the side door in a red coat 2 sizes too big, Lily on his heels. "Miss Eleanor, Mom says you have the hill." I did. The backyard sloped gentle but steady to the frozen creek, perfect sledding when the snow stuck. Dad used to drag us out here with saucers he swore were aerodynamic. They weren't. We still flew. Ray produced 2 ancient flexible flyers from the rafters, wax-papered and ready. Ethan whooped. Lily looked terrified. "I've never," she started. "First time for everything," Ray said, and pushed her down the hill. She screamed the whole way, coat flapping like a broken kite, and landed in a snowdrift laughing so hard she couldn't stand. Ethan followed, then Sarah, then Jake, who'd driven in from Richmond with a trunk full of law books and a secret grin. I went last, the cold biting my cheeks, the world a white blur until the sled stopped, and I was staring up at a sky the color of Mom's best china. We drank hot chocolate with too many marshmallows. Ethan fell asleep on the couch under Dad's old Afghan. Lily and I sat at the kitchen table, boots dripping on the mat, steam curling from our mugs. "I got a letter from the Historical Society," she said. "They want to name the new library wing after Dad. Asked if we'd both speak at the dedication." I raised an eyebrow. "Both?" Turns out he left them a donation too. "Enough to finish the children's room." She traced the rim of her mug. I said yes. "If you're in?" I thought of Dad shelving books at story hour, voice booming over restless toddlers, the way he'd slip an extra cookie to the shy kid in the back. "I'm in." Spring came slowly, the way it does in the mountains. The creek thawed with a sound like tearing paper. Daffodils pushed through the mulch along the porch. Ethan started 3rd grade at Willow Creek Elementary, my school. He waved at me in the hallway, gap-toothed and proud, calling "Aunt Ellie," loud enough for the whole 3rd grade to hear. The first time, I nearly dropped my lesson plans. Lily took the remote job, graphic design for a firm in Charlottesville, and turned the duplex's sunroom into a studio. She painted the creek at sunrise, the oak in full leaf, Dad's porch swing with 2 coffee mugs on the rail. One sold at the spring art fair for more than my first year's teaching salary. She tried to give me half. I made her frame it for the library instead. The land by the creek stayed wild. Developers called, polite, then persistent. Lily and I met them once, in Mr. Langford's office, suits too shiny for Willow Creek. They offered numbers that made my head spin. We thanked them, said we'd think about it, and left holding hands like schoolgirls. That night we walked the property at dusk, boots squishing in mud, the air thick with peepers. 20 acres of possibility. Riverfront, old-growth hickory, the spot where Dad taught me to skip stones. "Cabins," Lily said. "Family rentals. Nothing fancy. Keep most of it natural. And a dock," I added. "For Ethan to fish off." We shook on it over lemonade on her porch. Ethan between us building Lego spaceships that always crashed. Summer brought heat and fireflies and the library dedication. The new wing smelled of fresh paint and new books. A bronze plaque gleamed, Daniel R. Thompson Children's Reading Room. We stood at the podium, me in the dress I wore to Sarah's wedding, Lily in something flowy and artsy, Ethan between us in a clip-on tie. I spoke first, voice steadier than I felt. Told about Dad reading Goodnight Moon until we could recite it in our sleep, how he'd sneak extra quarters into the book fair envelope. Lily followed, voice soft but clear. She talked about phone calls from a man who signed his letters, "Your friend," about the day he finally said, "I'm your dad," and cried harder than she did. Afterwards, the mayor cut the ribbon. Kids swarmed the beanbags, the mural Lily painted on the back wall, a creek, an oak, 2 little girls on a tire swing. Ethan found the copy of Where the Wild Things Are Dad used to read him over FaceTime and carried it like treasure. Fall again. The oak turned gold, then bare. Ethan lost another tooth, this time to a caramel apple at the county fair. Lily's divorce finalized quietly, no drama, just papers and a shared custody schedule that worked. Mark even came to Ethan's soccer games, sat on the opposite bleacher but clapped when Ethan scored. Thanksgiving was at the big house again. Aunt Ruth brought the Jell-O, but she also brought Lily's favorite, pecan pie with real whipped cream. The table groaned. Turkey, dressing, Sarah's green bean casserole with the crispy onions, Jake's girlfriend's vegan option nobody touched but everybody praised. Ethan said grace. Voice piping, "Thank you for Grandpa's library and Aunt Ellie's hill and Mom's pancakes, and please let the dog we're getting be a golden retriever." We laughed until we cried. Later, Dishes done, I found Lily in Dad's study, our study now, running her fingers over the empty safe. The cedar box sat on the desk, locket inside, photos fanned like playing cards. I keep thinking he'll walk in, she said. Grumble about the thermostat. He hated 68, I said. Said it was for polar bears. We stood there, two women shaped by the same hands, different decades. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. Christmas Eve, we strung lights on the oak. Ethan insisted on the star Dad carved from cedar the year Tommy died. Rough edges, but it caught the glow like magic. Ray lifted him so he could set it on the highest branch. Snow started as we finished, fat flakes drifting lazy. Inside, Coco and A Christmas Story on TV. Ethan conked out under the tree, new puppy, golden retriever naturally, curled against his side. Lily and I sat on the couch, feet tucked under the same Afghan. I used to dream about this, she said. Not the details, just belonging, I bumped her shoulder. You do, she bumped back. So do you, the credits rolled. Outside, snow muffled the world. I thought of Dad's letter, the one about silence. I thought of Mom's locket, Clara's blanket, the tire swing creaking in the dark. We'd built something from the wreckage. Not perfect, not painless, but ours. And that's the truth of it, dear hearts. Dad's dying wish didn't just hand me a sister. It handed me a mirror. I saw my own stubborn silence in his, and I chose, day by day, to speak louder than the hurt. Lily and I didn't erase the years we lost. We simply refused to lose any more. Sometimes the hardest forgiveness isn't for the one who wronged you. It's for the version of yourself who carried the anger too long. I laid mine down in the snow that Christmas Eve, under the cedar star Dad carved with hands that trembled even then. Family isn't the secret you keep. It's the truth you finally tell. And once it's out, it grows roots in the unlikeliest soil. So I'll ask you this, soft as the falling snow. What secret are you still carrying that's heavier than love? Let it go, speak it. Watch what blooms. If this story touched the tender places in you, leave a heart, share it with someone who needs to hear they're not alone, and tell me in the comments, would you have opened that letter at the graveside? Or waited until the hurt cooled? I'm listening. God bless and good night.